hey, we're going to give you some real education since you're not reading on your own. So we're going to talk about a great, wonderful, major ancient Greek epic poem known as the Odyssey. It's one of two major ancient Greek epic poems, actually, that goes being attributed to a man named Homer, and it follows Greek hero Odysseus. He's the king of Ithaca. He's journeying home after being long gone at war. It's known as the Trojan War. Well, what happens next, Dr. Duke?
Well, yeah, you do wonder. You mentioned do our kids these days even recognizing the words Orwell and Orwellian?
No.
You wonder when they hear the word Homer anymore, do they think of actual Homer or Doe?
Of course, Doe.
Right, exactly. That's the only touchstone we have there. And I said at the beginning of the week, on tomorrow's show, we're going to cover how public schools across the country, from California to Massachusetts, are beginning to ban and pull classic books of literature from the classroom. They're almost all gone anyway, what's left of them. One of the few books that was left in the Common Core recommended books, by the way, was the Odyssey. Now it's going to be pulled out. So there are three books in particular the story is going to cover. It's going to cover removing the Odyssey, removing To Kill a Mockingbird, and to remove Scarlet Letter from American schools. Three great works of American literature. Two of American literature anyway. And so what I wanted to dedicate the instant classics to this week are those books. We did a segment on the Odyssey yesterday. We're going to do a segment from the Odyssey again today. This is that harrowing scene where at the end of the book, Odysseus, after 20 years being gone, makes it back to his home in Ithaca. He has spent 10 years fighting the Trojan War, 10 years being battered around the Mediterranean by angry gods and by monsters, punished for certain things that he did when he was a soldier. 20 years, he finally returns home. And one of the most moving passages in the entire Odyssey is when the Odysseus is disguised by Athena. He's disguised to look like an old beggar. No one can recognize him. They think he's just a harmless old man, except his dog. Right before he left 20 years ago, he had purchased a puppy and began training it. Little Argos, his name was. Now that dog is 20 years old, and it is completely neglected by the suitors who have taken over his house. This beautiful dog that was bred for hunting, is lying flea-bitten on a pile of dung, ox dung, sick and dying. But he, the dog, sees Odysseus. He sees through what the gods have done. He recognizes his master. This is the interchange from the Odyssey. As they were speaking, a dog that had been lying asleep raised his head and pricked up his ears. This was Argos, whom Odysseus had bred before setting out for Troy. But he had never had any enjoyment from the dog. In the old days, he used to be taken out by the young men when they went hunting wild goats or deers or hare. But now that his master was gone, Argos was lying neglected on the heaps of mule and cow dung that lay in front of the stable doors till the men should come and draw it away. And he was full of fleas. As soon as he saw Odysseus standing there, disguise or no disguise, he dropped his ears and wagged his tail, but he could not get close to his master. When Odysseus saw the dog on the other side of the yard, he dashed a tear from his eyes without Eumaeus seeing it. He entered the well-built mansion and made straight for the riotous pretenders who had taken over the hall. But Argos passed away into the darkness of death, now that he had fulfilled his destiny of faith and seen his master once more after 20 years. That's the kind of writing we don't want black kids exposed to. Too white there, too much loving of the love between a man and a dog, the attachments between animals and people, this moving scene between Odysseus and 20 lost years. All of that's not the kind of stuff we should be reading black kids.